Hey everybody, this is Dean and welcome to Photo Blue. Today I thought I'd do a review on Affinity Photo version 2. So let's get started. I'm going to go through a few things that I think are some major changes. There's a whole bunch of changes in here. They've done some changes to the user interface, which I think is an improvement, and most people seem to think it's an improvement, but that's kind of a subjective type of thing. At any rate, so we're starting here with a raw image file, and it's brought up the develop persona, which is a raw image editor, and so we can save the output here as either a pixel layer, raw layer embedded, or raw layer linked. And this is a new feature. It's a nice feature. It's similar to having your raw image as a smart object in Photoshop, if you've ever done that before. And so a pixel layer loses a lot of the image data from the raw file because it's a processed raw file. If you save it in either the raw layer embedded or linked, you can actually go back to the original raw file and re-edit it or reinterpret it. If you use the raw layer embedded, it actually saves a copy of the entire raw file into your Affinity Photo file. And that's, I think, is really the best option, because if you link it, you have to always keep the two files together. So it's self-contained if it's embedded. If it's linked, it needs to be able to find the original raw image. The major problem with this is the embedded image takes up something like 300 to 400 megabytes of space, so they're pretty large. But that's just something to bear in mind. So we're going to save this in the raw layer embedded. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go to shadows and highlights. I'm going to bring the highlights down to darken the sky up. Maybe bring the shadows down slightly right there. Let's go up here. Maybe do we want to boost the contrast just slightly. Alright, so now we're going to develop this. Now we can go back at any time to the original raw file by just double clicking on it, and it takes us back to the develop persona, and you can see the changes that we made in the shadows are still there. So let's cancel this and go back to the photo persona. So this interface has changed a little bit over here. These panels and these icons have changed. What we're going to do now, one of the major changes, and they did quite a few changes actually in it, but one of the major ones is, if we go to layers, there are these things called live mask layers, which develop a mask using a luminosity range, a hue range, or a bandpass range. And I'm going to show you how those work. The nice thing about either of those, if you create one of those masks, you can still edit it with a brush. So you can start with a mask, and if you need to make adjustments, you can do that. So let's go back up the layer, and we're going to go to adjustment layer, and we're going to select Recolor. And so it's turned everything red by default. Recolor, you can color something to any color, and you see we can pick the color. I'm going to leave it as red because it's pretty obvious, or you'll be able to see what the masks are doing better by doing it this way. So now the next thing is to go up here, and we're going to go to layer, and we're going to go to a live mask layer. Let's create a luminosity layer first. And so it's added the luminosity layer in it, and we can actually hit preview here. And you can see as we move this down, it changes. This is the mask that it's creating. If we go back to preview, you can see as we move this line around, actually probably better if we just move that up and this up. Let's move that like that. So now it's above it. So now we see the whole thing. So if we reset this, it's all red right here, and we can actually move this down, and you can see as we move it around, it changes what is being colored in, and it's based on the luminosity. And if you do a preview, we can actually see what the mask looks like here. If we turn the preview off, we can see how it's affected it. And so the darker areas have no or less of the effect on it, and the white areas, the whiter the area, the more the effect on it. Let's see here. If we bring these in like that, leave that like that. Bring that in like that, and if we turn that off, you can see these areas are the ones where the red is not showing up. Now, the reason I use this effect is because it's very obvious. You can use this with more subtle effects as well. So what we'll do now is we'll reset this, and we'll go ahead and delete the luminosity mask, and let's create a new layer mask here, and we're going to do hue. And so the hue, you can see it's already changed it based on the hue, and if we move this hue around, you can see whatever hue we select, it's applying the effect to it, and the effect is where it's red, of course. So we can use this and adjust different ranges on it, and where the ranges sit. So we have a lot of flexibility. Now imagine you can use that to maybe saturate certain colors or areas of the photograph more, or do any particular effect on the areas, and the areas that would be affected would be the red ones, or where it shows red in this photograph. That's the hue range mask. So let's just take a look at one last thing real quick here. Let's get rid of the hue mask, and let's go back up to layer here, live mask, and we're going to do the band pass mask. And to see this a little bit better, let's do the preview first. And if we go down here and move the low and the high in opposite directions, we get a little more of an effect. If we move this up like this, you can see the areas with the effect would be the white. So it really kind of outlines things. It creates these edge outlines. This particular photograph, because it's of leaves and woods and such, they aren't as sharp, but in some cases the lines would be sharper if it was maybe an architectural picture, or a picture even of a face, where there might be a lot of detail. So you can bring it out, but the effects are going to be more subtle. So if we turn this on, you can see it's dotted with red in areas, but it's not as exaggerated effect as the other masks are. So that's a third type of mask that they've put in that you can use to create a mask. And like I said, you can take a brush and go in here and brush in details as well. And so let's go back here, and we're going to get rid of this again. I'm going to bring back the hue range. And the other thing I want to show you is this is something with the interface. You can see that these layers have different icons on them. So there's a picture of the base layer right here. But the recolor adjustment has its own icon. This hue range mask has its own icon. So the icons give you clues to what the different mask layers are by just kind of glancing at them faster. So that's another kind of improvement to the interface. So we've got a few things here that I think are really major things. One is, of course, being able to embed a raw file within your Affinity photo file and go back and re-edit it. And then we have these mask layers where we can use luminosity, hue, or either the third one, which is bandpass, to create initial masks that we can do different effects or edits on. So those all work really. Those are all really nice additions to version 2, which I think makes it worth upgrading to this particular version. There's also a lot of other changes in it, and you can actually go to the Affinity photo page and go under tech specs, and down towards the bottom there's a thing that will tell you all of the new features, and there are quite a few listed actually. So if we go here and go to the Affinity photo page, right under tech specs here, if we go here and scroll down, you'll see new features list, and it has headings on here like general user interface, photo editing essentials, and under each of these major areas it has all of the additions that they have. So you can see they've done quite a bit of things to this, but I think we covered the major ones that really make this a better program. Now, on the downside of this program, if you're comparing it to other programs, there's really no AI masking in here, or AI sky replacement and other features which a lot of the editors are adding in now in their newer versions, or even in their last versions. So it's a little bit behind on AI replacement technology, but these additional masking using luminosity and using hue are really good features, and I think they really add to it. And also the addition of being able to save the information of your raw file right in the photograph, so you can go back and make minor adjustments at the raw level and have more flexibility in the final picture. I'm Dean, and this has been Photo Blue, and I will see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like.